This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is March 16th, 2026. Jonathan Osborne back here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, what is going on? How we doing?
Well, Jonathan, it has been 2 weeks since the Orlando Magic have lost a basketball game, so I'm doing pretty good. That's pretty wild. Like the glow up, as they say, has been crazy over the last 2 weeks, to the point where, like, we're going to talk about the standings and stuff like that in a little bit. It's crazy what is now possible, which is pretty fun. But yeah, I'm doing great, man. How about you?
Fantastic, man. It's 7 in a row. Obviously, we're going to talk about everything. You and I haven't recorded since this time last week. I was out of town. You were holding it down. Sam, post-game lives and everything like that. So we were going to talk pretty briefly about like the game against Cleveland, Washington, obviously the big win, the 7th win this season in a row over the Miami Heat. We're going to break all of that down, talk about some of the trends that we've seen in the last 3 games. But at the end of the day, the Magic are finding ways to win games, and they've been playing exceptionally well after this All-Star break. And it really just seems like they've decided to defend, and everything is kind of flowing from that. They've been shooting the ball a lot better as well. We'll talk all of that. But yeah, man, it just feels great to wake up every day and be like, oh, that's right, my team hasn't lost a game in 2+ weeks. So feels good.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the other thing we'll talk about this week ahead, if this team goes undefeated this week, then we're really making a statement, because this week is crazy. It's going to be wild.
This week is crazy. Hopefully we're going to get some guys back. We'll talk about that too. If the Magic somehow go undefeated this week, that will set a record. If the Magic beat, the Hawks, the Thunder, and the Hornets, all 3 teams that are playing really good basketball right now. Hornets kind of stumbling a little bit, but over the last 2.5 months, 3 months, they've been the hottest team in basketball. So if the Magic find a way to win all 3 of those games, they'll hit the number 10 mark, which has never been hit in Magic history. And yeah, I won't really know what to do with myself or really know what to expect the rest of the way. It feels like we've like multiple inflection points this season where you kind of just have to crumple up everything that you've experienced up to that point and throw it away. And it feels like we're getting pretty close to that now, if we haven't met that already.
And don't forget the 4th game this week. We host the Los Angeles Lakers to wrap the week up. So it's pretty, and they're surging right now too. They're playing some good basketball. So pretty tough week ahead. The franchise record is within sight, but again, if we get there, it'll be very impressive, I think, to the whole NBA. But long way to go, but we'll see how it goes.
Will it be though? Because it does feel like, even though the Magic have won 7 games in a row, all of the things, Paolo Banchero playing out of his mind, we're going to talk about that at length. It just doesn't really feel like the NBA is talking about the Magic.
Right.
In ways that other teams, have been talked about when they've gone on similar streaks.
Of course, but that's what I'm saying. If the Magic beat the Hawks and Thunder and Hornets and Lakers this week, then the conversations will have to happen. You can't, honestly, even in the next 48 hours, if the Magic beat the Hawks, who have the longest win streak in the league, and then beat the Thunder, who have the best record in the league and the second longest win streak, then conversations will have to happen. We'll be forcing those. Exactly. We'll be forcing those. Yeah. That'd be insane.
Absolutely. Real quick, this episode is brought to you by Drumble D, who upgraded to our All-Star tier, so a big thank you there. And then Junior Baru, Steve Slifford, Fritz Flores, and Isidro Sanchez. These are some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons that help financially support the show. They went to patreon.com/the Sixth Man Show and picked the tier that worked best for them. You can support what we do here for as little as $2 a month. $5 a month gets you into our Discord as well, which, as we're recording this tomorrow, or when you all are listening to this, which would be tonight to you, when the Magic take on the nope, it's not tomorrow. It's Thursday.
Yep.
When the Magic, I'm thinking it's Wednesday. It's not. I'm all over the place. Thursday, when the Magic take on the Hornets, we're going to be doing a watch along with our Hall of Fame and Elite Tier patrons. So if you're part of the Discord, you'll know where to find that. But yeah, if you like what we do here, you want to see that continue, you want to help and support in any way, head on patreon.com/the6man show. Pick here that works best for you. Kev, let's go ahead, just jump sort of right into the state of the Magic. Again, the Magic this week went 3-0, which I think neither of us picked the Magic to do that. I think we might have said 2-1. I think
you did, Jonathan. I think
maybe
you
I
did.
You know, sometimes I'm a hopeless romantic in that kind of way. But yes, the Magic went 3-0 this week. They are now 38-28, which puts them squarely in the fifth in the Eastern Conference, 9.5 games back of Detroit, 5.5 back of Boston, 4 games back of New York, just 2 games behind Cleveland with 1 game left against the Cavs this season. We're a half game up on the Raptors, full game up on the Heat, 2 games up on the 76ers. We are 2.5 games up on the Hawks and a full 5 games now on the Charlotte Hornets, which just a couple of weeks ago, Kevin, before the win streak, the Charlotte Hornets were surging, and it did feel like it was almost inevitable that they were going to end up jumping us or like really contending with us in the standings. And now the Magic, who I think have 16, 17 games left on the season at this point, a full 5 games up on the Charlotte Hornets. It's really going to be hard, I think, for Charlotte at this point to get themselves out of the play-in game. But I think if you would have asked anybody in that organization or that fan base a couple months ago, they absolutely would have taken the play-in really at any cost. But the Magic are playing pretty well. I will say, if you would have told us a couple weeks ago that the Magic would go on a 7-game win streak, I think it would have felt like we would have a little bit more space between us and some of the teams directly below us. Raptors are kind of struggling a little bit, but like the Heat obviously have been playing really well. The Hawks have been playing really well. Philadelphia is starting to fall after a lot of the injuries that they've had. But like you've won 7 games in a row and you still got like 3 teams directly on your heels. So the Magic really have to continue to win games. On the season here, let me go ahead and pull up our advanced stats, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at how the Magic are faring after the All-Star break. On the season, the Magic are 14th in the league in offensive rating. On the year, Kevin, like nowhere near the bottom 10 of the league right now. Their offensive rating on the year is 114.4. So what that means is per 100 possessions, the Magic are scoring 114.4 points. And the Magic are back up to 10th in defensive rating, giving up 112.9 points per 100 possessions. And overall net rating, the Magic are 13th in the league, outscoring their opponents by 1.5 points. And since the All-Star break, Kev, the Magic are 9th in offensive rating and 5th in defensive rating and 4th overall net rating. And recently, a lot of that coming without, obviously, Franz Wagner and also Anthony Black. So we've been talking, all season long about how frustrating it is that we haven't really got to see this team anywhere near what we were promised, like them being one of the better teams in the East, potentially being a contender. And although the Magic are delivering that, like results wise right now, 4th in net rating since the All-Star break, one of the best records in the league. The only teams that have more wins than the Magic are the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder since the All-Star break. But I'm still just kind of, it leaves you wanting just a little bit more, knowing that we don't have those guys. We don't have Anthony Black. We don't have Franz Wagner. And it really does make you wonder just how good this team can be, Kevin, when those guys, inevitably, hopefully come back.
Right. Yeah. It's very much a weird spot to be in where the team is absolutely surging and you know that your 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call him, player is out and your top bench guy is out. It does make you wonder, like, what's possible. And, one of the things we've talked about so much, honestly, since August, September, is how brutal the March schedule is, and you sit here, we're halfway through it. We're sitting here, March 15th, 16th, halfway through this brutal month.
Game.
Well, March 1st, the Pistons game, yes, but outside of that,
we don't count that.
You don't count that one. That was barely March, but we're halfway through it, and how it still is tough. Like we talked about, this week is tough. Next week, all of it is tough. The actual pacing of the games is tough. The back-to-backs. I say all that to say, what a boost, what a lift it could be to get those guys back for the second half of this really, really difficult month. Again, it's not just the opponents, it's the frequency of the games. This team is playing so many basketball games in the month of March. If they're able to get an Anthony Black back soon and or a Franz Wagner back soon, it could be a huge lift. Obviously, basketball-wise, those two are great players, and we miss them, and they're going to bring a lot to this team. But even just body-wise, right? Like just adding two more bodies to throw in some of these games, these back-to-backs and such, it'd be huge. And, we have no real idea of when that's going to happen. But the flip side of that is you always wonder, like, when you add such key pieces back, like, you hope it doesn't mess with, what's going on. And I don't think it will. These are two guys that have been playing in this system and with these teammates for a long time. I expect them to just slot right in. But neither guy is going to come back at 100%. That's what happens when you're out, for especially Franz, an extended period of time, right? But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But all in all, I think it's absolutely going to be a lift for this team, emotionally, psychologically, physically, and of course, basketball-wise.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think we've gotten Franz for a total of, 3 games, basically since, I think it was like December 5th, 9th, 7th, like somewhere in that pocket there. So really the last, depending on when he comes back, you're looking at 4 months where he's played a total of 3 games, and it had, lengthy stints of being out, and AB kind of being in and out of the lineup, before this last, abdominal strain, is what they're calling it with him. So, it's going to be interesting to see kind of how everything fits together, because like really this team has not been totally fully healthy and whole all season. When you think about Jalen Suggs out the beginning of the year, then Paolo was out that whole time, you're without Mo Wagner. He doesn't come back until basically like right before the Europe trip, and then Franz goes out in December, and so we don't know. We have no idea what this team can look like fully whole, and how all of that is going to work together. I'm not going to lie, it does make me just a little bit nervous, like integrating all of that. And now not only is it, you're adding Franz back, you're adding Anthony Black back, but it's literally like, you have not had this starting unit or this bench unit whole at any point this season, and kind of having to integrate everything really quickly.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit nervous. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't.
Yeah. The Magic have not been whole since the 6th game of last season. That was when Paolo tore the oblique. Right after, or maybe it was the 7th game. Yeah, maybe it was the 7th. It was either the 6th or because he dropped 50. I think that was game number 6, and then I think he got hurt in game number 7. So, but then I guess he played the 7th. So game 8, whatever it was, we're looking at like over 100 games of not being healthy, like all combined. It's pretty crazy. But then one thing you mentioned, like Javon Carter hasn't played with either of these guys. Anthony Black, I guess he has a little bit, but he hasn't played at all with Franz Wagner. And so how does that fit? Does he play anymore, right? Like, is Anthony Black coming off the bench and taking... There's just so many questions that, you're right, we have no answers to, because this is uncharted territory for us if and when they come back. So, but yeah, I agree. I think there could be some bumps in the road, but I think in the long term, again, our goal is to be playing our best basketball in April and beyond. And I think if we can get these guys back soon, get them reintegrated into the system, into the roster, and guys be familiar with each other, hopefully we can continue to hit our stride in April.
Taking a quick look at the injury report, we already talked about quite a bit of this, but Anthony Black, he is already listed as out for Monday's game against Atlanta with the left lateral abdominal strain. Jet Howard is questionable. He missed Saturday's game to Miami with an illness. Jonathan Isaac is out with the left knee sprain. He went up for an alley-oop attempt in the second half against Washington, and came down really in a heap. And my heart absolutely sank. It felt like, oh no, here we go again, another major knee injury for Jonathan Isaac. The same knee injury, or the same knee in which he tore the ACL. Like for me, I thought like that moment in time could be the last time that we ever see Jonathan Isaac play basketball, especially in an Orlando Magic uniform. And you have to think if it did end up being like another major knee injury, how much longer does this dude want to continue? And I would not have blamed him if it was a major knee injury, and thank God it wasn't, knock on wood. But had it been if he was just like, yo, I'm done, I totally would have understood that. But they're calling it a left knee sprain. He got up after a couple of minutes, walked off the floor, on his own power, which was great to see. A super scary moment there. And then Franz Wagner still out with the left high ankle sprain, the sprain injury management, essentially. He is still being evaluated, still being treated. And we got kind of like a mini update last week ahead of what would have been like that 3-week window. I want to say it was like Monday or Tuesday somewhere in there. That basically, I think it was with the Anthony Black update that he had an MRI, that we also heard the news about Franz. That his return is just still going to, depend on how he responds to treatment. So some people are like, it doesn't sound great. He's not, doing a ton right now. Well, Paolo wasn't like doing any contact stuff when he was coming back from the groin injury. And then all of a sudden he was back. I don't know that we're going to see that with Franz, just given like the nature of this injury and the way that it has just kind of been lingering since December. And he's tried to come back now basically like 2 separate times and has had issues. So they definitely want to make sure that he is 100%, 1000% ready to go before he comes back. Because when he comes back this time, you need him to be good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, 100%. Can't be unsure about it here. Now, the timeline is interesting. I do wonder if the Magic were, in a free fall, not playing well, would they? How would that change how they respond to the Franz situation? Right, like the fact that the Magic won 7 in a row, does that change the timeline? I really don't know. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And yeah, I for one hope he's back super soon.
Yeah, I think there, is a possibility that had the Magic, maybe not necessarily not gone on this run, because like 7 games in a row is a pretty big deal. But, had they gone, 2-5 or something in this stretch. And when you look at the opponents, like it's very possible that like that was, in the cards. We can debate how likely it would have been, but maybe they just go, hey, like it might just not be worth bringing Franz back this year. But now when you look at how they've been playing, and not just because of the results and not just because where they are in the standings, but like the way they've been playing and how good they've looked at times. I'm bringing Franz back. Like if there's a way, and obviously you're not putting him at risk for like future injury and stuff like that. Like if it makes sense to bring him back, bringing him back, and we're ready to go here. Kevin, before we jump into some of these games, I wanted to take a few minutes to just talk about how much fun this is right now. Sure. We have talked and moaned and groaned and complained and vented and felt sorry for ourselves really all season long. And the Magic are playing their absolute best basketball of the season right now. When you look at the talent of this team and some of the teams that we've beat, like you could argue this is the best stretches of Magic basketball in years. It's certainly up there. Like I think the only win streak that's been longer recently was a couple years ago. I think it was like December when you win 9 games in a row. And the Magic are potentially staring that down. But just really quickly, I know some of these games have been more stressful than they should have been, like coming down the stretch, and we'll certainly talk about that. But we have been pounding the table and screaming almost at the top of our lungs this entire season of who cares about the offense? If you guys just sit down and defend, you're going to win a ton of games. And the Magic have basically been doing that since the All-Star break, and they're 10-3 since the All-Star break and one of the absolute best defensive teams in the league with they've been doing it largely without two of their better defenders.
Yep.
So, and they've also missed, like Jalen Suggs, at times in this stretch. So just like almost purely off of effort and like knowing where to be on the floor, the Magic have been one of the very best teams in the league defensively. And like they've also just been getting like some great offensive performances, like Paolo Banchero 100% all the way back. Desmond Bane continues to be the flamethrower that he's been really since the flip of the calendar year. Tristan da Silva has kind of regained his early season form. He missed a little bit of time with injuries, but since sort of like getting healthy and getting all the way back, he has been fantastic as well. Jalen Suggs has had some really strong offensive performances. Talk a little bit about, like, for yourself, just how much fun this has been, how much fun like post-game lives are after wins, especially when you're on a win streak like this. Like, it is good to be a Magic fan right now.
It's about time, right? Like, took us long enough. I mean, it really is. Like, this is a, I don't want to say a payoff, because the first 2/3 of the season, we're so trying and frustrating and such. But obviously, a couple things. One, it's a little bit of like validation of like, okay, we're not crazy. We knew this team could be good, right? Like, it honestly, like the first 50 something games, I was questioning everything. I'm like, man, I really thought this team was good, or supposed to be good. And then when they're not, it's just like, man. But the other thing is, I still, and I say this all the time, and I'm sure people are sick of hearing me say it, but I just cannot believe, in spite of everything in the first 50 something games, you talk about the injuries, the frustration, the lack of alignment in some ways, it looks like, or appeared that way, right? The new acquisitions, like all of the things, trip around around the world, right? All the things. The Magic sit here as we're recording 2 games out of home court advantage in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and we're less than a month away from the playoffs starting. Like, the fact that we are right there, almost right there where we wanted to be, like, most people wanted a top 3 seed, right? No one expected Detroit to be what they are, but Boston, New York, you expected it. You expected Cleveland to be there. We sit 4 games back of the 3 seed. Now, we're not going to get to the 3 seed. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, as miserable as the first 2/3 of the season was, the fact that we are just 4 games out of our goal is genuinely insane. Like, it's really, really crazy. This team is 10 games over 500 right now. It's wild. And in some ways, it's a little bit frustrating. You're like, man, if you just put together 5 more good performances in the first 2/3 of the season, you'd be sitting there in the 3 seed, however you want to frame that. But the fact that this is still there for the taking is really, really cool, really, really surprising. And that's just what I keep thinking about. Like, I know the March schedule is tough. April isn't easy either, but it's there. Like, this is a real possibility. And even if the Magic don't get the 4 seed, right? Even if they stay the 5 seed, I like their chances with the way they're playing right now. I like the way this team is playing basketball, and it feels like it's sustainable. And even more so, it feels like it's sustainable in the playoffs. And so I'm at the point now where I'm like, I think this team can make noise in the playoffs again, which I didn't think that a month ago. And that's really, really exciting. And let's just say I've started to clear my calendar a little bit for the month of April, where before, it was like, quick little, 7 to 10 day series. Now we might do a full, 6 or 7 games, then maybe even a second round. Who knows?
I'm just thinking as you went through that like the Magic turnaround has basically like almost immediately coincided with the signing of Javon Carter. And I don't want, like, he's been really good. I don't want anybody to mishear me. I don't think he's like the reason, or like even in like the top 5 reasons of why the Magic are playing so well. But it does feel like he's been playing a lot with the starters, but like even the bench like just really needed like another like adequate ball handler. I know they had Tyus Jones. He was so bad defensively. We don't have to kind of go down that route, but having a guy who's capable on both ends of the floor, a guy who can knock down shots. He is shooting it at a better clip than Tyus Jones was, if I'm not mistaken. But it's kind of like when the Magic traded for Markelle Fultz, even though Markelle wasn't winning. I think that went on like a 5 or 6 game win streak, like immediately following that trade. So sometimes like just getting a new guy in the locker room can add a little bit of juice. And I do think like Javon just kind of brings that edge and just a little bit the Magic needed. And he has definitely helped this team a lot.
And stats don't lie. The Magic are 10-3 with Javon Carter. Like you said, maybe there's some other reasons, but that's not nothing. And I think you hit it on the head. I think at the end there, like there's obviously on the court, we love what we're seeing for the most part. It's not been perfect, but certainly an upgrade from what we were getting from other sources. But I think there absolutely could be something to like the veteran presence type of thing. Like Javon Carter has already shown he will speak his mind. He will speak up. He will hold people accountable. Is that helping in this situation? Is that fueling some of the guys? Maybe. I don't know. We won't know that. There's no way to know. But yeah, I mean, you have to love what we're seeing from him on the court, off the court. He's been a big acquisition.
Yeah, the edge that he brings to this team, holding guys accountable. Like we heard it from Jalen Suggs, coming from like a good place. But like just not letting stuff slide. And this was, I mean, part of it was kind of our argument at the trade deadline of like, hey, sometimes you do need change just for the sake of change. It doesn't have to be like big, like sweeping things, but like you just got to shake things up a little bit. And it feels like push the right buttons and kind of pulled the right levers. There does feel like, it was a big miss, just kind of, hey, we're betting on this team getting healthy because we haven't really got that. But to everybody's credit, like this coaching staff has the Magic playing their best basketball of the season. The players are performing. The front office went out and got Javon Carter. So credit all the way around for how the Magic are playing.
It's that time again. This week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. Man, we had 2 really, really good contenders. Saturday night, Mo Wagner had a beautiful behind-the-back throwdown in Miami, which was a lot of fun. But it's only honorable mention this week because this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week came on Wednesday night against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first quarter. The Orlando Magic forced the turnover of the Cavaliers. Jalen Suggs leads on the break, gets it to Paolo, and Paolo throws the lob. It looks like it's too high, but Tristan, one-handed, throwing it down. I don't know about you, but I certainly thought that was a turnover. I thought that ball was sailing to the 4th row, but Tristan showing some hops and doing it with one hand. Super impressive. That's this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, sponsored by Jam Hot Chicken, who are bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to all of Central Florida, both at their Winter Park and their Winter Garden location. You can follow them on social media at Jam Hot Chicken or visit their website, jamhotchickenfl.com, where you can order online and use code 6thMan. That's SIXTHMAN, which will get you 10% off your order. Or if you want to order in person, you can do that as well and just tell the person at the counter that you have the code 6MAN. 10% off every time you go. That's a big deal. The folks at Jam Hot Chicken just love this Magic fan community so much. That's why they have gifted us this amazing 10% coupon code as well. So big shout out to Jam Hot Chicken for loving this team, loving this franchise, loving this community, and for supporting the show. And when you go, just let them know that the 6-Man Show sent you.
Yeah, but sometimes like these dunks happen and we'll text like, hey, like mark this is like a nominee.
Yep.
When I tweeted that, you responded no doubter. Like sometimes when it happens, you just know something is going to be the jam of the week. So shout out to Jam, shout out to Paolo and Tristan for that dunk, and shout out to our friends over at the Posit Group. The Posit Group, they're your home team on and off the court, your Orlando real estate resource of choice. So if you're one of these loser Miami Heat fans who are moving into the area because they love Orlando so much, for some reason they don't want to live in the town of their favorite team. But if you're in the market for a team and you're new here to Orlando, the Posit Group is your most followed real estate brand in Central Florida and Orlando. Not only are the real estate sponsor of our show, this year, they're the official real estate sponsor of the Orlando Magic. So supporting this franchise, supporting the Orlando Magic fan community. They're also the 2025 Orlando Weekly Best of Orlando Real Estate Company voted by readers. They've helped over 2,500 plus families buy and sell here in Orlando. So again, if you're in the market for a home, maybe you're looking to purchase your first home with interest rates coming down. Maybe you're looking to downsize, or maybe you're just looking to move across the other side of town. That new Jam Hot Chicken opened up in Winter Garden and you want to be a little bit closer. Hit up Ken and his team if you're looking for a home in that area. They're impacting lives through real estate, and Posick Group agents outsell their competition by 5 times. So if you're looking to sell your home, there's literally nobody better in the Orlando market to trust the sale of your home with. They're also in the top 1% of sales in the United States. So if you're looking to sell your home or you're looking to buy a home, they're literally maybe nobody better in the country than to help you than the Posick Group. So if you're looking for any real estate help whatsoever, hit up Ken and his team. You can find them at Posick.com. That's POZEK.com. A big shout out to the Posick Group for their contributions to our show and our fan community. Again, you're looking for any help, hit up the Posick Group. Now let's get back to our episode. Yeah, I know we're going to have like the whole Paolo Banchero conversation in a little bit here, but I don't know if you brought this up because you were the one that sent it to me and sent it in our chat. I was like, hey, this is a must read. I don't know if it's been talked about really on the post game lives, but Mark Spears from Anscape, he released an article, about Paolo. I'm looking back. This was the 4th, which would have been Wednesday of last week at this point. And trying to find the direct quote of, I'll just read this excerpt straight from the article. Again, if you want to read it, you can find it on anscape.com from Mark Spears. It says, rather, the Orlando Magic forward blamed himself and used it as motivation to play like one of the NBA's elite since regular season play resumed. This is a quote from Paolo. I'm always honest with myself, Banchero told Anscape. I looked in the mirror first over the All-Star break. I watched a lot of film over the early part of the season. I just wasn't happy with what I put out. Some of that had to do with me being injured and coming back. I could have had a better mindset, and that was part of it. But I know I'm an all-star in this league. My confidence is still the same. It's about being honest with yourself and realizing you didn't really deserve to be an all-star, honestly. It's about taking that with a grain of salt and being better in the second half of the season. To me, that, I'm guessing this is the part of this article that you read and was like, wow, every Magic fan needs to see this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But hearing that from Paolo, that he is able to be that kind of like introspective and honest with himself and criticize himself to that level, mentioning like, my confidence is still the same, but like, I didn't deserve to be an all-star this year. Instead of like a young entitled star saying like, blah, 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 the media doesn't, give us enough attention. Coaches around the league don't like me, don't appreciate my game. He didn't point the finger at anybody. He looked in the mirror, pointed at himself, and said, like, yo, I need to be better. And he has been playing at an all NBA type of level since coming back from the All-Star break. And like, this is going to sound mad corny. I am so freaking proud of this kid for realizing this and putting in whatever work he needed to over the All-Star break to fix this, his approach, his body, whatever it is. And I'm just so proud of how he's been playing and leading this team since coming back from the All-Star break.
Yeah, there was a lot in that article that I thought was worthwhile and noteworthy. I highly recommend it to everybody. There's a lot of quotes from Paolo. The stuff that stood out to me, but also he talked about, let me back up. One of the things that we have talked about as Magic fans is like body language that we've seen from Paolo this year. And he talked a little bit about that, about kind of his demeanor, his attitude. I don't remember the specific term he used, but that's been lifted since the All-Star break too. And obviously like the phrase winning cures all, of course, but I think it's like a chicken egg type thing, right? Like, is the attitude lifting the players, the play lifting the attitude? Who knows? But yeah, I loved hearing that from him. And there's one thing for a player or person to think those things. It's another to just be open about it with a writer who's going to put out an article about it. And so I really appreciated that. And I think every Magic fan I know that's read it has really appreciated it too. So I definitely recommend it. But yeah, that was a really cool look into his perspective And very clearly things have shifted for him in a very positive way.
And I mentioned, this is by Mark J. Spears. Like, credit to Mark for obviously like building this like level of rapport with Paolo over the last couple of years. They did like the journal stuff. I think that was last season with the Anscape. Like he clearly has built a level of trust with Paolo where Paolo is confident and comfortable enough to like be vulnerable and open up to Mark. And again, like credit to Paolo, like a lot of guys at 23 years old, like don't kind of like the maturity and the wherewithal. And like that's been questioned at times. Like when you talk about, him leading the team, you talk about, the body language and stuff like that. And we've talked, at least I've mentioned on the show here that like he's 23 years old. There's no, you don't get a manual on how to be the face of a franchise, at that young. Like your entire life, you're basically told like, yo, you're the best. Like, you're going to be in the NBA. You're, the number one, prospect. Like you're going to Duke. You're playing in the Final Four. You're the number one pick in the draft. Like, I mean, just me personally, I can absolutely see how people become like entitled and just like believe their own hype when you have as much success as somebody like that has. And, you're handed, hundreds of millions of dollars at a young age. And I think it definitely speaks to, Paolo's upbringing. We've had interactions with, his parents, and obviously you've heard a ton from the both of them over the years, just kind of, about, Paolo and, his approach and, the way he's been brought up. So just a ton of credit all the way around. I don't mean to make this like the biggest like Paolo Banchero glaze fest of all time, but I mean, somebody has to combat all the hate that's out there around this kid. And I don't like that did make kind of like national headlines. And I think like Hoop Central and, other account like Legion Hoops, like might have put that quote out there, and NBA fans all over the world, follow those accounts and, fans of different teams. Like, how do you like not see, even if you're the biggest hater of Paolo and you've seen him struggle, hearing him be like, oh, wow, he's actually taking accountability for that and like trying to better himself and also coming out playing really well. How do you not just like send out one little tweet giving the kid his flowers? And there absolutely has not been. And I'll save some of my thoughts, as we talk about specifically the way that Paolo has been playing. But just wanted to shed a little bit of light on that article for anybody who may have missed that, Kev.
Yeah, it was definitely good. And Paolo's been good too. He's been pretty good, I'd say.
Some would say extraordinary. Okay. Let's go back here. We're not going to spend a ton of time on the Cleveland-Washington games. Like, those are now, 5 days ago as some of you all are listening to this 4 and 5 days ago. If you want, this guy, Kevin Tucker, you might have heard of him. He does a fantastic job with the post-game lives on our YouTube channel after these games. He talked about them, for a lengthy amount of time. Would definitely recommend going back and listening to those if you want some like in-depth breakdowns of that game. But what Kevin and I thought would be the most helpful in talking about is just some of the fourth quarter trends that we've seen in each of three of the last 3 games and 3 wins here, because hey, lately they've all been wins. They have been a little bit concerning, but when you're winning 7 games in a row, you don't really like, very rarely do you have 7 blowouts in a row. If you have a streak of this length, there are going to be some games that you have to win in the not most aesthetically pleasing ways. The Magic had pretty significant fourth quarter leads in each one of these games. They led by 13 against the Cavaliers, a 115, a 102 with 4:43 to go. They led by 17 with 11 and a half minutes to go against the Wizards. And they were up, how many points was it, Kevin? They were up 17 on the Miami Heat early in the fourth quarter as well. So luckily the Magic were able to come out with wins in each of those 3 games. But those are leads that you can't really afford to continue to give up in the fourth quarter of games, especially when 2 of those games were at home and one of those turned into an overtime game against a team who is actively trying to lose games. So Kev, what have you been seeing in each of these 3 games as it pertains to those fourth quarters, and what can the Magic do to kind of snap out of that?
Yeah, it's tough because I'm conflicted because the part of me goes, obviously these fourth quarters not great, honestly not acceptable. But like you said, a win is a win. The flip side of me goes, but dang, has this team played well in the first three quarters of games during this stretch. Especially think about the Miami game, the first half on Saturday, maybe the best half of the season. I know it didn't end great the last like 4 minutes or so. Miami cutting the lead a little bit, but on the whole, it was stellar. Miami's a good team. Miami was, one of the hottest teams in basketball, won 7 in a row, and you go out there and you embarrass them in the first half. And then obviously the fourth quarter happened. You mentioned Cleveland. Cleveland, a very good team as well. The lead not as big, 13, but Cleveland got it down to 2. And then Washington, you had a 19-point lead in that one, and obviously Washington came all the way back to force overtime. Yeah, I mean it's a problem though that I feel has plagued this team for actually years now, and not necessarily choking big fourth quarter leads, but the offense just absolutely sputtering in the fourth quarter. That is a trend that has happened for years now. Why? Well, I think a lot of fingers should be pointed in a lot of different directions. I think what tends to happen, just my uneducated eye, especially this week, these 3 games, the Magic have large leads in the fourth quarter, and it just feels like they kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit. Or I should also add, they just get careless, like just poor decisions sometimes on certain possessions, whether it's a bad shot, an early shot in the shot clock, a turnover, those kinds of things. And the problem is those things tend to snowball, right? Like you make a mistake, the other team is able to get out and run, so you can't set your defense, and they get an easy bucket. And then now it's in your head, oh, they're coming back, and you make another mistake, and on and on and on. I mean, Saturday night, goodness gracious, like we tried to give Miami a chance to get back in that game. I think about, some of the turnovers. I mean, the Tristan da Silva, like fumbling the basketball out of bounds. Like that ball was not touched. I know on the broadcast they thought at first that, I think it was Norman Powell maybe who was defending him. I can't remember. They thought he got a hit. No, Tristan just dribbled the ball off his knee, off his leg, out of bounds, right? Like
really quick counterpoint to that though. Like Jamal Mosley should make sure that Tristan da Silva is not the one bringing the ball up in those situations. Like I do not want the ball in Tristan da Silva's hands, that level of pressure that late in the game when you have the guys on the floor that you had.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I think all those things combined, I wish there was like a one answer, like, oh, very clear the Magic are XYZ, this is why they're doing it. But I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, but it is a trend that has to get fixed. Like, again, kudos for how well they're playing in the first 2 or 3 quarters of games right now. Like elite level stuff. Like if you take the first halves of these games, think back to the Detroit and Houston game, 2 weeks ago. It's the same thing. And those are 2 of the best teams.
The Utah game, the Portland game. Like this has been a season-long issue.
Season-long, but I mean, even just this, in the last 2-3 weeks, like those are 2 of the best teams in basketball. I'd love to see the Magic's first half stats compared to the rest of the league. I bet it's up there, right? Especially in the last month.
We can look at that as actually.
Please do. But yeah, this has to get sorted out because playoff teams in the playoffs will eat this for lunch, right? Like they will know, like you become very aware of your opponent in a playoff series, right? Like intense study of every quirk, every characteristic, every tendency. And if teams pick up on the fact that the Magic slip up in the fourth quarter regularly, there is going to be no lead in the fourth quarter that teams feel like is insurmountable. Every lead is going to feel like a possible comeback. And so they've got to get it figured out quick.
So the first half, like offensive and defensive ratings are pretty online with just overall, after the All-Star break, top 10 in offense, top 4 or 5 in defense. In the second half, the offense is still pretty much the same, but really what we're seeing is the defense dropping off. The Magic are 13th in the league in defensive rating in second halves. If we go ahead and just take a look at the fourth quarter here, go ahead and get that loaded up here as we continue to have this discussion. It's going to take for whatever reason, it's taking a moment to load. There it goes. The Magic in fourth quarters are 9th in offensive rating and 11th in defense. So really it feels like the defense is dropping off a little bit late in these games. For me, kind of what it feels like almost, and the Magic, we can take a look at like clutch stats because the Magic have played, more clutch games than most teams in the league this year. Yeah, the Magic are they've played 34 clutch games this year. They're 23-11 in those games. They have more wins than every team in the league in clutch games outside of the Detroit Pistons. But they've played the 10th most clutch games. So they have a pretty good win percentage. They're third in the league in clutch game win percentage, only behind the Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Wow.
So I think there is an element of like, oh man, here we go again, just because it's been a theme all year. They do seem to panic. It's like that 9-minute mark, 10-minute mark in the fourth until you get down to the last 2 minutes. And then they just like tighten down the hatches a little bit. And then they just make the plays that they need to in order to win games. I think I put out a tweet, a couple of weeks ago. I forget what game it was. Like Jalen Suggs just came up huge, in the last couple of that game. Like Jalen has a 28.6, or at that point, Jalen had a 28.6 positive net rating in clutch minutes in games, which is just absolutely unreal, right? Let me look up what that is right now. As a matter of fact, as we have this conversation about these guys, take a look at some of their clutch ratings throughout the season. But yeah, it does feel like in those minutes, as other teams get desperate, their defense ratchets up just a little bit. And it's like as soon as the Magic go like 2 or 3 possessions without scoring, they completely get away from what was making them successful, in the better parts of those games. Okay, Jalen Suggs this year, it's dropped a little bit as he's played in more clutch games recently, but still has a 20.2 positive net rating. He wouldn't really qualify. You'll never guess who's number 1 on this team in clutch rating. He's only played 4 games in clutch minutes.
Jonathan Isaac?
No, it's Jet freaking Howard.
Oh my gosh.
At 33 with a 33.3 positive net rating. But when it comes to Jalen Suggs, like out of guys who have played like, let's say more than 12 clutch games, the next closest is Franz at positive 5.8. So it just shows you just how insanely impactful Jalen Suggs has been for this team, in those moments. So I think it's a mix of like, oh, here we go again. Definitely like taking their foot off the gas just a little bit. And then the offense just gets really, really, really tight, in some of those moments and allows those teams to come back. And in these 3 games in particular, I do feel like it's a little bit of like bad shooting variance kind of luck. Like, Keon Ellis hitting, what was it, like 3 threes in a row towards the end of that Cleveland game. Then Mitchell hits a 3. Then Harden hits a 3. It felt like they made like 5 in a row or 5 out of 6 to kind of close that game. Yeah. Bilal Coulibaly genuinely turned into like prime Michael Jordan the last few minutes of that fourth quarter. Let's take a look. Bilal Coulibaly was 5 of 9 and 13 points in that fourth quarter. And then in that overtime, what were his stats in that one? NBA.com not loading up at all here. Shout out to NBA.com. Yeah, he was 1 of 3, still had 5 points in that overtime period. And then against the Heat, like it was Larson going crazy, hitting jump shots, knocking down threes, getting to the free throw line, all that kind of stuff down the stretch that kind of helped get them back into that game. But yeah, it's concerning. It's not something that you necessarily want to dismiss. The Washington game, I wasn't too upset about because it was the second night of a back-to-back. It's kind of sandwiched in between Cleveland and Miami, 2 games that you're really looking. It's like a classic trap game, right? Yeah. And the fact that like Bilal Coulibaly, like, banked in the 3, to force overtime, was like falling down, throwing shots all the way up in the air that just happened to fall in, the last few minutes of that fourth quarter. So I wasn't not really upset about any of these. It's annoying in the moment. I think you tweeted out perfectly though Saturday night when it comes to Miami. Like, this game does not care how it happens. As long as you get this win, we're going to be ecstatic. To sweep the Miami Heat in the regular season, you won 5 regular season games, including the NBA Cup. Won 2 games. Going back to the preseason, I think you beat them the last 2 times you played them in the regular season last year. Is that not correct?
Was last year the Tyler Hero game winner, or was that 2 seasons ago? Because if so, then if that was last season, we lost the last 2 last year.
Trying to think back to that. Let's go ahead. We'll pull up ESPN here.
I'm just getting so old now that my seasons all run together.
If anything, I think at the bare minimum, when it comes to the regular season, you won like 7 out of the last 9 against this team, including all 5 this year. Yeah. If we go back to last season, it was the 2 overtime loss to Miami. That was the last time that you saw them last season. But you go 2-2 against them last year. Including the blowout in opening night where I think it was Gary Harris made like a third of all the threes that he made last season. And in that one, I'm exaggerating just a little bit, but it's genuinely like a 6 of all the threes that he made last season came in that game. But 7-0 against Miami, like going back to October, 7 out of the last 9. Winning the division last year, having that over them. It did not matter how you got that win. But let's talk a little bit about how you got that win. Again, like the Magic for the first 3 quarters, it felt like they were going to blow out the Heat for the majority. And it felt like that going into the start of the 4th quarter. And as we've had the conversation now, just bit by bit throughout that quarter, they kind of chipped that lead. It got a little bit squirrely down the stretch. Desmond Bane fouling out for the last few minutes. There were a couple of calls who, like, it in real time, it felt could have gone either way. Thinking back to like the Tristan da Silva, like near backcourt violation, the 5-second call that was ruled on Larson trying to inbound the ball, the Magic not getting called for a 5-second violation, even though they got pretty close to that late in the 4th quarter. But lo and behold, we take a look at the last 2-minute report, and there were no incorrect calls, in the last couple of minutes of that game. So Heat fans, though, love crying about the officials when they literally just had a guy shoot 43 free throws earlier, in the week here, went over the Washington Wizards, which just people call me a hater for that. Yes, absolutely. I hate the Miami Heat. You are not going to like get me. Oh, you got me there. Like, that's not going to happen. I openly admit that I hate the Miami Heat, and I will do whatever I need to discredit. If you don't like that, you might secretly like be a Miami Heat. And if that's the case, then we cannot help you here because you will find no sympathy here. But I found that like just really, really grand seeing them complain about the officiating after one of their guys broke the NBA record for free throws in a game like 4 days before this one.
Yeah. And the thing that drives me nuts with them, like, if you want to get to, being really, really picky and stuff about calls, Eric Spoelstra should have had probably 17 technical fouls last night for the amount of time he spends on the court. There was a possession, Jonathan. He was inside the 3-point arc. He stepped all the way past the 3-point line. That's crazy. How is he allowed to do that? That's insane to me.
I believe he's the most tenured coach in the league.
He sure is. Yeah. Now that Pop is out of the league. But yeah,
which their last championship was 13 years ago at this point.
Wild.
Like, Heat fans still trying to like come at us and use that of like, what about the rings? What about the rings? Like, yeah, congratulations. Basically got gifted a championship in 2006 with Dwayne Wade and the free throws in that series. And then congratulations that LeBron James decided to come to your franchise.
Right.
And win, a couple of more titles for you all. Like,
congrats that you have nice weather and no sales tax, and those guys all got paid stuff under the table. Congratulations, right?
Yeah, and the fact that your city happens to be on the water, like,
right?
It's oh man, like the Heat culture, in my opinion, the last few years has really shown its true colors in the way that these guys complain, and the way that the Jimmy Butler situation was handled, and yada yada. So whatever. I could go on all day about those losers.
A couple things though. We talked about obviously how important, how great and fun it is to win 7 in a row. That's cool. A couple things that are really, really important. Obviously, standings wise, it's big because you gained a whole game on Miami, which was huge. But
6-pointer.
There you go. As they say, 6-pointer. Obviously, the Magic have already won the head-to-head series with Miami, But what this also did, this gave the Magic another division win. So as Atlanta continues to surge, as Miami looks like they're still going to be there, as Charlotte, who knows? I mean, at this point, we're 5 games up on Charlotte. I'd like to think we're not going to end up in a tie with them, but you never know. Like the division record, if there's a 3-way tie in a division, it goes to, correct me if I'm wrong, it goes to a division record as the tiebreaker, not head-to-head. And so the fact now the Magic have a 9-5 record, and Miami and Atlanta both have 7-6, 7-6 records. That could be huge. Obviously, Magic play Atlanta tonight as you're listening to this, so that'll be a big one as well. But yeah, just a huge game all around for the standings, the division, all that stuff.
So, okay, I don't know how many times we're going to need to go over this in the next couple of weeks, but just because you brought it up and it's relevant right now. For 2-way ties, number one, it's not really a tiebreaker, so I don't know why they have it listed here, but better overall winning percentage. In that case, it's not a tie, so why even listed here? After that, it's head-to-head win-loss percentage. Right. Head-to-head record. After that, division leader wins a tie from a team not leading a division. But if we're talking about teams within your division win-loss percentage for teams in the same division. So your division record. Then it comes down to your conference record. After that, it comes to win-loss record versus playoff eligible teams in your own conference. And then after that, it goes to win-loss percentage versus playoff eligible teams from the opposite conference. And then after that, it comes down to net points scored for all games. So 7 different 7 different tiebreaker scenarios for 2-way ties. And then there's different stuff when it comes down to multi-way ties. We'll go through all of that if we are coming down to the last 2-3 games, and those types of scenarios are still out there. But yeah, as it is right now, the do have the most, or I guess they're tied with Charlotte in terms of division wins, but they're up 2 games on Miami and the Hawks, 1 game up in 1 game in the loss column, 2 in the win column in terms of division record against those. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't come into play, with Charlotte there. So, but yeah, I was just really proud of the way that they won this game. Jalen Suggs, wanted to give him a quick shout out. Absolutely unreal in that first half, like that first quarter especially. Kind of set the tone for the Magic, helped them build that big lead. Like Desmond Bane was really good, even though ends up fouling out in this one. Quick, one other thing that I think is a problem.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're gonna. Maybe we're not thinking the same thing. Each one of these games, as we're getting down the stretch and we're like in the last 2 minutes, this team needs to learn how to kill the clock even a little bit. Like, why are we taking, contested jumpers with 8-9 seconds left on the shot clock when you're up 5 with 2 minutes to go? At that point, like, you are quite literally playing against the clock. And I don't love the, playing to lose game. Like, I like playing to win in those situations. But, like, Desmond Bane taking, like, a contested layup over, like, 3 guys with 7 seconds left on the shot clock, that's just not the move. Like, work the clock a little bit, try to get a better shot. And if you have to take a desperation look, do that with 1 or 2 seconds left on the shot clock. Like, to me, that has killed me these last few games, seeing these guys take attempts with like 9 and 10 seconds left on the shot clock.
It's tough because I hear you and I raise you the patented Paolo step back 3 late in games that he seems to take every clutch game and rarely make. So it's like, pick your poison.
What was that last part?
He rarely makes the step back 3 late in games.
I don't. That's the whole part. It rarely goes well for us.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If we hold the ball till the end of the clock, that's what oftentimes happens, right? So if I'm comparing a Desmond Bane shot with 8 seconds left versus that Paolo step back from the wing, just falling out of bounds three. I'm probably going the Desmond Bain thing, but I do understand.
If you're going to settle
saying.
for a bad shot, I'd rather you take like 6 more.
True.
The game should have been over like 20 seconds before it actually ended. Like in terms of like the amount of time played. Like I'm sitting there and like, why do the Heat still have a chance to come back and tie this game? Like we should have taken 20 more seconds off of this clock, and they should have had like 2 to 3 less possessions in that game. So when I started that little bit, was that what you were thinking?
No, it wasn't actually. Different? It wasn't. You surprised me there. Where I was going, because you mentioned Desmond Bain fouling out, I was like, Desmond Bain needs to stop fouling out. That's where I was going, because he has fouled out of some really, really important, close, clutch games. And I'm sorry, like, to me, the only people that are allowed to foul out are big men, because they get called for stupid fouls all the time. They got to defend the rim, all that kind of stuff. If you're a guard, you shouldn't be fouling out as frequently as Desmond Bain is. And we've needed him in some games. I'm trying to go through and count. So obviously last night, that's one.
He's fouled out in 5 games this year.
5 games?
One was the double overtime loss to the Phoenix Suns when Jalen Green hit the 3 there. The rest have mostly been blowouts, other than this Miami win.
Right.
The other, 4 times he's fouled out this year have all come in losses, and none of them were particularly close.
But he's also had...
he's gotten pretty close in other
He's
ones.
had a bunch of 5s. I don't know. That game versus New York was relatively close in the fourth quarter. I don't remember when he fouled out, but he's got a lot of 5 foul games too. I don't know. I just need Desmond to not be in foul trouble so often. That's what I need. As a guard, as a guy who is literally one of the hottest players in the league right now, like, we need him on the floor late in games. Please stop getting in foul trouble. That's all.
And that 6th foul, like, I know he stopped the attempt, Larson ends up going to the free throw line, but it just didn't feel necessary. It felt like you could have gotten a good contest there without grabbing him. So yeah, definitely don't want Desmond Bain fouling out, but I just feel like in total as a team, they can do a little bit better of a job late in those games, like taking advantage of the clock, and because it's a possession game at that point. If you don't give them enough attempts and enough chances, they're just not going to be able to come all the way back. I did want to shout out Paolo, just like timely buckets the entire game when it came to like building the lead, but like the Heat went on multiple runs in this one where it felt like, okay, now they're going to come back, and each time like Paolo Banchero would get to the free throw line or had, like a timely jump shot. Like there was one, they ended up coming all the way back, but when they started to go on their run in the fourth quarter, like 8 minutes left, he had a 15-foot jumper that pushed the lead back out to 15. And he would hit some 27 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 turnovers, which you don't love, but 57% from the floor, 1 of 3 from deep, perfect 10 of 10 at the free throw line. Been really, really solid there as of late. Desmond Bain, 21 points. Jalen finishes with 14. How many of those came in the first half? All 14 of those came in the first half for Jalen Suggs. He was 6 of 12 in the first, ends up 6 of 17 for the game. So he was 0 of 5 in the second half, but was just really, really good. Had 6 assists, 3 turnovers. Tristan da Silva, 11 points, 5 of 12, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. Tristan da Silva has just been really good. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull up his numbers since the All-Star break. Tristan da Silva, 13 points a game, 51% from the floor, 46% from deep, 93% at the free throw line. Jalen Suggs, Paolo Banchero both missed big free throws down the stretch. Wendell hit the free throws that kind of ended this game for the Magic. And those did not feel great with Wendell at the line. And that was in the closing seconds of this game, especially after Jalen Suggs missed 2. I think Paolo might have split his late in this one. And it just felt like Wendell was absolutely going to split those. And to his credit, he knocked them down.
Wendell has been clutch this year. We got to give him some credit. He has had some big buckets.
He shows up in the 48th minute.
He has had some game winners. He has had game sealing free throws. Like, give him credit, man.
He almost always shows up in the 48th minute. The problem is sometimes he shows up at the 48th minute.
Sure, maybe sometimes, yeah. But like big offensive rebounds, like he's had some pretty serious clutch moments. So I give him a lot of credit for that, for sure.
You don't become like one of the best 3 clutch teams in the league without almost everybody having some clutch moments for you this season. So that has been great to see. 7 wins in a row. 7 wins in a row over the Heat as well. Sweeping them 5 games, which really I don't know that has ever been done in NBA history. I think Sam talked about it on the post game live, but the introduction of the in-season tournament where some teams you are playing additional times throughout that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, when it comes to these groups, they're not really going to make you play a team like 6 times, in a season. They're going to find out how to do that. So I think even division teams, the most you're going to end up playing them before you get to the knockout round is 4 times. Yeah. So like, it's probably something that's not going to happen all that often, unless you're just like a really bad team in a division with a really good team. But yeah, like Heat fans clap back out for talking trash to them and just be able to say like, bro, we beat you 7 times this season alone. Mm-hmm. We beat you 5 times in the regular season. Like, how many times we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Like, how many times we have to give the Miami Heat belt this season before they go? Sometimes once you've been beat so many, you just have to stop talking, right? Yep. Like, you lose your ability to reciprocate the trash talk. You've just been owned the way that the Magic have owned the Heat this season.
And especially when they're first the winning, the old rings and stuff, that's one thing. But then the other comeback we heard a lot Saturday was, the refs, the officiating. And then when the last 2-minute report comes out and it's like, no, they got everything right. It's like, okay, what now? What's your next thing? Like, what are you going to point to?
Well, you never had your franchise player score 83 points in a game.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and everybody thinks that's one of the wackest like scoring performances in the history of the NBA. Congrats.
Ever. Yeah, exactly. So congrats on the 43 free throws or whatever it was. It's cool, man.
Listen, you could have Bam score 100 points once a year if it means the Magic never lose to the Heat again. I will give you that.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Right?
That's amazing.
Okay, let's have the Paolo Banchero conversation because, again, there has been so much negativity in the direction of Paolo Banchero, not only from the national media, but like within people, like in the community of people that call themselves Magic fans, right? Like the Magic, what did they win? Like 7 out of 10 games when Paolo Banchero was out early in the season. And there was this talk of, the Magic are better without Paolo Banchero. This is Franz's team. The Magic are better with Franz. Paolo Banchero comes back and struggles for like roughly like a month and a half. It took him to like really start getting his legs back underneath him and him to start playing better. But the whole conversation during that time was he's not, very good. He's Josh Smith. There was a tweet that I quote tweeted that somebody said on Twitter, and it for whatever reason it got a lot of attention at the time of like the Magic franchise is going to die a slow, painful death. With Paolo Banchero, there were people saying that I'm cool off Paolo Banchero. Like they're basically have come to the conclusion that he's never going to be that good of a basketball player. And the Magic now, since the All-Star break again, have won 10 out of 13 games. Paolo Banchero in those games is averaging 25.5 points per game, 9.1 rebounds, 5.8 assists, averaging almost a stock per game. He's shooting 49.6% from the floor, 32.7% from the three-point line, and 82.1% at the free throw line. Those averages of 25 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, which is almost to 6 assists a game. There's only 2 players in the entire league during that time who are averaging at least those numbers. It is Paolo Banchero, and who the vast majority of people believe and agree is the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. And Paolo Banchero has the better true shooting percentage during that time. There is a legitimate argument that over the last 13 games, Paolo Banchero has been the best player in the world. Where are the hit pieces? Where are the think pieces? Where are the tweets crapping on him? Where are the YouTube monologues talking about Paolo Banchero and just how good he's been during this stretch. You want to crap on a guy when he's down, fine, but not to give him one iota of credit when not only is he playing out of his mind, he has this team playing out of his mind. When he's guarding James Harden, Luka Doncic, Evan Mobley at times, Cade Cunningham, Bam Adebayo, the list goes on and on. This dude is bringing it on both ends of the floor night in and night out, and he has arguably been the best player in the world at this time. And from the haters out there, is crickets. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. It is absolute loser behavior to try to crap on a 23-year-old and dismiss him that they did. And now that he has been playing out of his mind better than almost anybody in the league, they can't come back and just say, yo, Paolo's balling out lately. Like, he's really turning around. It drives me crazy. But if that is what is going to continue to motivate this kid, please keep bringing it, because the kid has been arguably the best in the world the last few weeks.
It drives you crazy. Yes. It drives me crazy. Yes. But are we surprised? Are we surprised though? No,
not at all.
That's the thing. Like, it's twofold, right? Like, one, it's just the culture of the clickbait era, right? Like, just the toxic, like, the negativity is what, unfortunately, more often than not, the negativity is what gets views. It's what gets clicks. And so people gravitate towards making that kind of content, whether it's tweets or videos or whatever. But number two, we're the Orlando Magic. People don't pay attention to us, like, especially when we're good. They're just like, that's the Orlando Magic, right? Like, and at some level, I don't necessarily blame them, because of our, the last 15 years of existence. But like you said, if you're going to make a big deal about Paolo struggling for a segment of the season, which he did, we're not mincing words here, right? Like, Paolo really struggled. We talked about it a ton on this show, right? But what we never talked about was us giving up on him, or us saying this team is better off without him, or whatever the nonsense was. And so those people should turn around, like you said, and go, now hold on a second. Paolo was really struggling. Look at what he's done. Look at what this team is doing. And that's why, going all the way back to the very, very beginning of the show, the NBA world should be noticing the Magic. And I think some are. I think, like, the true basketball, wackos out there, they recognize what the Magic have done since the All-Star break. But the casuals, it's going to require beating one, if not both, of Atlanta and OKC in the next 48 hours. Like, which is stupid. The fact that it has to come to that. But if you beat OKC on Tuesday night, that'll get some attention. And then, obviously, if you beat the Lakers on Saturday, forget what happens between now and then, right? You beat the Lakers, you get attention. And so hopefully, for Paolo's sake, and it's dumb that it has to come to that. But I hope we can beat them in those big games so that the NBA world can finally recognize what is happening with Paolo.
Yeah, you said something a couple of moments ago of like, negativity is what, like, draws clicks and draws attention. I can't even find it in me to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing it for clicks. I think it's just because people enjoy being negative, whether it brings clicks or not. People, for whatever reason, don't like Paolo's game, and they, if he doesn't play exactly the way that they think he should play, and they start talking, about the efficiency and looking at, like, some of the, like, advanced, like, the on-off stuff, they don't watch the game, so they ignore all of the context around that, and they just simply like to hate. They don't like to give people praise because they're generally, like, miserable people. So in order to give someone praise, that would require them to get outside of that, miserableness that they live in and they thrive in. So some people take offense to me calling those types of people losers, but to me, like, that is the epitome of loser energy, when you are just so negative and such a miserable person that you can't give somebody their flowers. Say what you want to say about Kevin and I. We will criticize all day long when we feel like it's fair, but when it swings the other way, we give people credit. Like, for example, Jamal Mosley has gotten a ton of criticism on this show this season, and, like, the conversation of, like, should the Magic bring him back in season, to me, is totally separate. And we're probably going to wait until the end of the season to have that conversation. But we talked the last month before the All-Star break of, yes, things are rough, but historically, the Magic play well, being coached by Jamal Mosley after the All-Star break. And they have done that. Now, the other flip side of the argument is, do we need to wait every single year until we get to the All-Star break to start playing good basketball? My answer to that is emphatically no, but you do have to give credit where credit is due. Jamal Mosley and his staff are the ones getting these game plans together, putting the players on the floor, and getting them to perform this way. The players deserve a lot of credit as well, but say whatever you want about it. You can call us ugly, idiots, all of that might be true, but we always give credit when credit is due. And anybody that argues that, you better bring receipts, because that is just false. Just completely false. So, it drives me crazy. Not surprised whatsoever, like you said, Kevin. But I just, to me, it's not fair to Paolo Banchero, and it drives me crazy because this kid should be getting all of the praise, like young players, like Scotty Barnes was getting earlier in the season for turning things around there in Toronto. Cade Cunningham, being in the MVP conversations. Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, like Cooper Flag, like all the praise that these dudes, like almost outside of Scotty Barnes, he definitely gets plenty of criticism. But some of these other young guys are almost like immune or like impervious to negative criticism, especially this season. But like Paolo playing absolutely out of his mind, like almost for a month now, and you just don't see any of the articles about, look, Paolo Banchero has turned it around. Mm-hmm. Look at the leap Paolo Banchero is taking. When I went back, on our Instagram feed earlier in the season, I was on Nick's film school with our good friend Andrew Claudio, and he was asking about like the narrative around Paolo Banchero and some of the things that would annoy me. And I mentioned that, like, what if the Magic stay healthy and have the season we think they could have, which we're kind of getting to that point now, the flip that people are going to have on Paolo Banchero of like, oh, look at this leap that he's taking. And it's like, no, look at the context in which he now has the ability to thrive in. And that's kind of what we're seeing now. Like, when you think about the players around Paolo and the role players, especially Desmond Bane, not exactly calling him a role player, but Desmond Bane, Wendell Carter Jr., like playing for the most part pretty well regularly. What we've seen out of Anthony Black this year, Jalen Suggs starting to get his legs back underneath him. Tristan DeSilvia, obviously, every night it seems like you're getting another bench guy, whether it be Mo Wagner or, like a Noah Penda, et cetera. Like, he's got guys around him. The Magic are knocking down shots recently, and he's healthy, and it feels like he's getting his body more and more right as the season goes on. Like, we're sitting here on Paolo Island waving at all of you who are shipwrecked out there at this point. We're saying, yo, we told you so. We've been telling you all season long. It might not be this season. I wasn't always confident that he was going to turn it around this year. But at the bare minimum, I said, give this kid a healthy season, work on whatever went wrong this year, and he's going to be right back to where he was at the end of last year. And here we are again. And we're not surprised at all that Paolo has gotten to this point. Not super surprised that we're not seeing like the positive praise. I'm a little surprised, not super surprised, but it's just disappointing that people can't come around and give him his flowers.
Here's the good thing. And what I appreciate about Paolo, I know you do. Paolo doesn't need that. He does not need the praise. He does not need the positive attention. He doesn't need that to just go to work and do his thing. That's why one of the things, at least me personally, I love about Paolo. Like, he is not a guy that is just addicted to the spotlight and addicted to being the guy and addicted to being talked about and all those kinds of things, like so many other young stars across all of sports and pop culture and all those things. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes if that takes over your desire to be the best, your desire to be great, your desire to win, that's when it becomes a problem, right? But fortunately, that's not Paolo. That's not how he operates. That's not how he works. Sure, again, would it be nice to get a little more recognition? Of course, but he doesn't need that, right? Like, he's still going to be him. He's going to do his thing. he's going to lead this team to continue to win. I believe that. And that's one thing I just love about Paolo is like, whether it's haters or praise, he's going to shut out the noise and get to work and trust in what he does. And right now it's working really well.
And not to jump too far ahead here, but like the flip side of that though, Kevin, is at some point, if the national media, doesn't talk about you and you're not like this household name, that affects your marketability and like your value to like sponsors, endorsements, etc. And like, at what point would anybody say like, and this is why guys do leave for bigger markets and why you always hear of like, oh, this guy is looking to be traded. Oh, well, it's Miami, it's LA, it's New York, it's these teams who are interested in trying to make moves for these guys. And guys, seem to always have a few teams like on their list of like potential destinations. And with those being big markets, like the problem is at some point, like for example, the national media, if Paolo doesn't make an all NBA this year, which I don't necessarily, I'm not going to make the argument right now that he's had a season that is like deserving of that. But if Paolo doesn't make an all NBA team, he goes from making 30% of the cap next year down to 25% of the cap. So at some point, like the national media or whoever having these conversations, them neglecting his play is actually affecting him monetarily. He's losing tens, if not $100 million by not being in those conversations potentially. So like my whole thing is like, there's such a lack of integrity when it comes to people who are like covering the league, covering these players nationally, where too much of it has to do with where plays. You mentioned it. We're the Orlando Magic. Even when we're playing well, we don't get talked about. And that's because we're not Miami. We're not New York. We're not LA. We're not Chicago. We're not Boston. We're not whoever. And it's just irresponsible. And I do think the national media has like such a, I'm not going to use the kind of language that I want to use right now, but has like such a thirst for whenever it seemed like there's the perfect situation in a guy in a small market, they want to see these guys move to like big markets. And that's really always been a problem, especially in like the era of like player empowerment. But we've been saying it like, yo, stay on that side. If that's where you're going to be and you don't have the ability to like give him credit, like a year from now, I don't want to see you being like, oh, I knew Paolo could do this all along. I don't want to see that kind of stuff. So just wanted to give Paolo his flowers. Like when you look at the entire context of the winning, of the way that he's been playing, if the Magic they're not going to win every single game in March. How many games do we have left in this month, Kevin?
We have
take a quick look at that.
4, 7, 9. 9 games left.
So let's say the Magic go 5-4, over, those next games there. That would put the Magic at what? I know we mentioned, or you corrected me, mentioned that they had the one loss in right Detroit. So we're 7-1. So 5-4 would put us 12-5. 12-5 right. For the month with him playing at this level. The Magic go 12-5 in the month of March, and Paolo continues to play at this level. He should be the Eastern Conference Player of the Month.
Yeah.
And at that point, then you've got to start having those types of like all NBA conversations. Because even though he wasn't great to start the year, if the Magic end up 4th or 5th in the East and Paolo Banchero was like the main driving force of that, and they have this huge in-season turnaround, he's had his own in-season turnaround, and he's going to have like some really good counting stats, especially after the All-Star break. He may not make an all-NBA team. And honestly, it's from a financial standpoint, it's better for the Magic if he doesn't. But I do think he deserves to be in those conversations and get a little bit of consideration at that point. And I hope if you are a doubter out there and not necessarily a hater and don't hear what I'm not saying, we've never said you can't criticize Paolo. We've never said that. But what we have said is you can't go overboard in your criticism and make that an unfair or unnecessary criticism of him. But if you have been someone who like your confidence has wavered in Paolo at some points in this season, I hope now you realize that if he does have another stretch like this at some point, that he is capable and is going to snap out of it at some point. And I hope Magic fans can can just remember that moving forward and not start the idiotic conversations and some of the things that were being said about him, and potentially to him and to his family during that time. And hopefully we can just handle that better moving forward.
Yeah, I'd like to think that. And that's the thing. Like, he's been great in the stretch. Magic are winning, but there's still so much more to be done. And who knows where he can take us this season, regular season, playoffs, whatever. The story is still being written, and that's super exciting.
The rest is still unwritten, as somebody once said.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the week ahead. Monday at Atlanta, 7 o'clock. That is a Peacock or NBC Sports Network exclusive, I believe, Kevin. No FanDuel Sports Florida for that one.
Yep.
And then Tuesday, back-to-back. So you have an away-home back-to-back. You'll play in Atlanta Monday. Fly back after the game. You take on the Oklahoma City Thunder at home on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Then the Magic are off Wednesday. They'll fly to Charlotte to take on the Hornets on Thursday. That game is at 7 o'clock on NBA TV. And then they will come back home to take on the Los Angeles Lakers on Saturday at 7 o'clock. Again, that one is going to be on NBA TV. In these parts, Kevin, we don't exactly count NBA TV games as quote-unquote nationally televised games, but those are games that you could view around the nation. Maybe it's not a national televised game, but it's a game that's televised nationally. Maybe we can put it that way.
Sure.
This is a gauntlet this week.
Crazy.
4 of the better teams in the league the last couple of months that you're playing here.
Let me hit you with some stats. Let me hit you with some
away,
stats.
Away, home. You're not going too far. You're going to Atlanta, you're coming to Charlotte and coming right back, like relatively short flights. But it is still a bit of a weird week. And yes, Kev's got some stats for us.
So I wish I had some way of figuring this out. I don't know. But I think this 3-game stretch might be history. So Saturday, obviously the Magic beat the Miami Heat. Miami's on a 7-game win streak, right? Monday, we go to Atlanta, who is currently on a 9-game win streak. Tuesday, we host OKC. OKC won on Sunday. So their winning streak is going to be at 8 games. So we will have played 3 straight teams who are on 7-game win streaks or greater. A combined 24-game win streak in 3 games that the Magic are playing in 4 nights, by the way, because the last 2 are back-to-back. Insane stuff. Then you add to it Charlotte, one of the hottest teams since January 1st. LA, who's currently on a 5-game win streak. Who knows? Obviously, they've got a couple games between now and Saturday. But regardless, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They're one of the hottest teams in the West. They're now the 3 seed in the West as we're recording this. So, this week is literally 4 of the hottest teams in the sport of basketball on the planet right now. And the Magic play them all this week. It's insane. It's a crazy, crazy stretch. And who would have thought at the beginning of the season, when you look at the schedule, obviously OKC and the Lakers were always going to be tough games. But who would have thought you add the Hawks and the Hornets, and that makes this the toughest week probably for the Magic season and one of the toughest stretches in the NBA. Who would have thought? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And the fact, you might have said this, but the fact that the Lakers could come into that game on an 8-game win streak.
Right. That's crazy.
At the Rockets, at Miami. The good thing for the Magic is that is, going to be their 4th straight road game in a pretty lengthy road trip for the Lakers. But
right.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this is probably going to be all form considered, right? That's a EPL and golf term, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
Form considered, which just for those of you non-ball knowers out there, that just means how you're playing lately.
Mm-hmm.
Form considered, this is definitely the toughest stretch of the season for the Magic. And
for sure.
Look, we're gonna give our opinion on the week ahead and how we think the Magic are going to do. But if somehow, some way, it's unlikely, but if the Magic sweep this week, not only would they meet and break and set again their, all-time franchise record for consecutive wins, you have to think that's going to put them at worst, a game behind Cleveland, depending on how their week goes, which I don't know if you've taken a look at that. I don't think it's that tough.
No, the schedule's easy.
Let's take a quick look. They've got Milwaukee, Chicago, New Orleans. You did mention that right before we started recording. So Who knows how that goes?
They lost to Dallas. Who knows?
They did lose to Dallas, correct. Yeah, and they've been, last couple of weeks, they've been kind of up and down, up and down. They did just lose to Milwaukee, a couple weeks ago without Giannis. With Giannis being back, obviously there's a chance for them to lose that game again. But like, you sweep this week, you might be the 4th seed. I think it's a very unlikely scenario, all things considered, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. So,
and I would say, if that happens, you also play the Cavs next week. And so you could have a chance to take the 4th seed. Now, that sucks because that's the second night of back-to-back for the Magic, but the Cavs will have had 2 extra days off. So, whatever. Yeah. We'll get to that week ahead later next week. But I will say, next week's week ahead, you play the Pacers and the Kings next week. So, if we can survive this week, things are looking up.
I'm very, very so interested in hearing your prediction for this week. I have a feeling that it could be scathing.
Me?
Yes.
Oh no, I am very firmly planted in 2-2. Very firmly planted.
Okay, but I want to hear which 2 you think we're winning.
We're beating Charlotte on Thursday.
Okay,
I'm picking that one. The second one, man. Oh wait, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah,
I know where you're going with this. I can't do it. I can't pick against the Thunder on the second night of a back-to-back. I should though. You're right. I should because I don't like them.
If you had any sign at all, no, I'm just kidding about that. But if you're a real one, you should just plant your flag.
If it wasn't a back-to-back,
come on, don't cop out. You have to pick them to win. I feel like
I'm honestly scared of the Hawks on Monday too. Though, like the Hawks are on fire.
These are all tough games.
All tough games. I'm going to, but man, you're playing Thunder at home. I'm gonna give a really, really bad answer. I think you beat the Hornets and you beat the Lakers and you lose both games on the back-to-back. That's what I'm gonna pick.
Okay. I have you going 2-2, but I think you're beating the Eastern Conference teams and you're losing to the Western Conference teams. The Lakers, literally everybody's playing well right now. So it's not like, we're not playing great. They're playing really great. Everybody's playing great right now.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's tough to see the Magic beating OKC on the second night of a back-to-back. And it's tough for me to see you sweeping a Lakers team that talented playing as well as they are right now. But on the other hand, the Magic are playing really well.
Yep.
To me, like, especially the Atlanta game, if you had to rank in terms of like importance, that's the most important game this week.
Yep.
And I just feel like the Magic are playing too well right now to go 1-3 on this week. Like going from 7 in a row to going 1-3 in a week, even given the opponents, would be pretty disappointing. I don't think now this could change depending on how bad losses could be, but I think 1-3 would still be pretty disappointing. I don't think it would be like the sky is falling unless you're blown out in all 3 of those games. But I do think like the Atlanta game especially is the most important game this week. So I think the Magic get up for that one. And I think they win. And then I think you find a way to beat Charlotte. Oklahoma City, just tough second night of a back-to-back. And like sweeping the Lakers, although you did do it last year. It's just going to be really tough to do that.
I think 2-2 is my prediction, but I personally would be happy with 2-2, right? Like obviously I want more, but like looking at the schedule, how all these teams, again, the 4 of the hottest teams in the league, I would walk away from this week if we go 2-2. I honestly don't really care which ones, because like you said, if you beat the Eastern Conference teams, that's huge for the standings, right?
Yeah.
And then if you beat the Thunder or the Lakers, that's just huge for everything, because those are 2 big names, defending champions, all that kind of stuff, right? So however you get 2 wins, honestly, I'll be happy.
I will
with
take
that.
it.
Yeah,
100%. Now, I will add the caveat that at least 3 of those games need to be competitive.
Sure.
If you win 2 really close ones and get blown out in the other 2, I'm going to be disappointed with that. We need to have a competitive game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, because it has actually been years since we've had a competitive game against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I know. I just
lose the game. I don't care. But at least for 3 quarters, like until the Magic just completely run out of gas, I need you to be like within 7 to 10 points of the Thunder before they throttle you in the fourth if that happens.
Yeah. I just, again, if it wasn't the second night of a back-to-back, I'd be with you. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, no one wants that more than me. No one wants to be the Thunder more than me, probably. But it's a really, really hard thing to. Now, the Thunder have been missing a lot of people this season, right? A lot of injuries, a lot of key guys. Now, unfortunately, it hasn't really slowed them down too much, but I can't. I would be very impressed if it's a clutch game against the Thunder on the second night of back-to-back. You are at home, though, so who knows?
Yeah, they've been without Jalen Williams. He's got a hamstring injury. Outside of that, they're not really missing any key guys. Yeah. Listen, okay, you wake up Tuesday morning, fresh off of a big NBC win over the Atlanta Hawks.
Peacock, yeah.
The Magic got, oh, did I see NBC? Well, NBC Sports Network.
Okay,
whatever. But Peacock, an NBC product.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Magic, they got up, pretty good on the Hawks. Were able to sit guys for like the last 3-4 minutes of this game. Was garbage time, and you get the notification. Franz Wagner's back in the lineup against the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight, baby.
Uh-huh.
How does that change your evaluation of this?
Nope. No. Sure doesn't.
Okay. Yeah. Get me 2-2 with 2 relatively competitive losses this week, and I'll be ecstatic. Anything over than that is like house money and cherry on top, whatever, does not even come close to the emotions that I will feel if you somehow go 3-1 or don't let us go.
I was literally about to say that.
If you go 4-0, you're seeing my nipples on that podcast.
Let's go. Yeah, I was literally about to say.
We're trying to get Luke Sylvia on this show. If we go 4-0 this week, you're going to see my nipples. Promise you that.
Yeah. Now, please still tune into the show. Don't turn it off because of that. But we want you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was literally about to say, don't let us go 4-0. Because if we go 4-0 after beating these 4 teams, something crazy is happening. Because that would be crazy. Because that would be an 11-game win streak, and you're beating the 4 hottest teams in basketball. But I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I think pushing an hour 40 minutes is enough. I think we're good.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Okay. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the 6-Man Show. We will catch you guys next time. See you.
Thanks for listening to the 6th Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6th Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!